Welcome back to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. Today we're going to talk about how the Canadiens are doing after 12 games. Their most recent loss, a 3-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh on Saturday night with an empty net goal. The Canadiens' offense didn't quite look up to par that game. They got a goal by Dvorak, his first of the season. Other than that, there was a few chances here and there, and the Canadiens weren't outshot. But all in all, another loss, another disappointing Saturday. I guess they've been doing well on Saturdays, but a disappointing Saturday night loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their next game is on Tuesday against the Calgary Flames. And after the game, Martin St. Louis and a lot of the players were, I would say, pleased with their outing. It was only really 2 goals let in outside of the empty net goal. So you can say they played a better defensive hockey game. It was, in my opinion, a different style in the neutral zone. It looked like they didn't quite forecheck a lot in the offensive zone, but when the puck got over the blue line, they made it a little difficult for the other team to just cross over the red line and get it in deep. They lost to Sidney Crosby, who scored 2 goals. There was multiple mistakes by a few players. I'm going to call out Matheson. Matheson did not have a good game. I think I said earlier in the season that I felt like his trade value is at its highest. I also think his value to the Canadiens right now is just too much for these young players, young defensemen, to go on without him. So as much as I'm not a huge Mike Matheson fan in terms of where he sits right now compared to where he's going to be in 3, 4, or 5 years when the Canadiens need to be good, he's needed right now for his maturity, for his experience, and for what he brings to the table. He's just in the wrong seat. He's not a top 2 defenseman in the NHL. He could fit in nicely as a 4th defenseman or 5th defenseman on a good team. I don't know if that's where he'll end up on the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see. I think I said last show that the Canadiens are pretty much 6 or 7 guys on this team are really going to be there when it counts. And I did expect a better season this year, 5-10 points more. That would not get them in the playoffs, so I never thought they would make the playoffs. I think that's something we're still looking for in terms of an improvement. For me, the biggest aspect that I've come to realize in the last 12 games is the following. There are 6 or 7 guys on this team that are going to be on this team in 3 years. Outside of those 6 or 7 guys, it's a crapshoot for 2 or 3 others, and I would bet against them. So what I anticipate is Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Uri Slafkovsky, Caden Gooley, Lane Hudson, and Doc are probably the 6 guys that are going to be back on this team in 3 to 4 years. Perhaps a new Hook, perhaps a Kapanen, perhaps a Heineman, perhaps a Jack-Eye, perhaps a Struble. End of the day, we're not looking at the Canadiens that are going to really compete at the playoff and the Stanley Cup level. There are a bunch of players like Roy, Reinbacher, Beck, Mailloux, Demidov, Hage that are coming. And I wouldn't say all of those guys are going to make it either. Probably 2 or 3 of those guys are going to make it. The rest of the team is going to be made up of veterans, but not the veterans we see today. Maybe Evans is probably the only veteran, and maybe Matheson as a 5th defenseman, and maybe Montembeault. Once they kind of find their game, and so when the Josh Andersons, the Gallaghers, the Armias, the Dvoraks, when those contracts expire, when the Savards, they're not going to be replaced by those young players that I just mentioned. The Canadiens are going to go out and get veteran defensemen, veteran forwards to play on lines with some of these players. And I anticipate it's going to be trades and maybe free agency. They're going to hope that a Fowler becomes a number one goalie. If not, they're going to trade for a number one goalie. And end of the day, the Montreal Canadiens that you're seeing today in 2026, 2027 will only be a percentage of the players that you see today. So when the fans get angry at Martin St. Louis that they're not winning games, that they're not playing the right system, they're not playing the right system. They're playing one-on-one and they're losing battles. But as long as the 6 or 7 guys that are going to be there in 2 to 3 years and plus are improving, that's when I think Martin St. Louis is doing a good job. Now, so far, Doc and Slafkovsky, and maybe throw in Gouli, and maybe throw in Newhook, are not. And that's our concern. But it's 12 games. I'm going to look at the season in 50 to 60 games from now. And if Slafkovsky is not improved, if Doc has not improved, if Gouli has not improved, and he's a good hockey player, I'm just saying he needs to get better. And if Caulfield has regressed at all from where he's at right now, and if Suzuki has not stayed the same or improved, then we have a problem. But I don't see a problem right now because this Montreal Canadiens team is not supposed to win, and not supposed to make it to the playoffs. As much as the management of the team wants them to be in the mix, they want to win games. They need to learn how to win games. It's those 6 or 7 guys that really matter. As much as I like Gallagher, as much as I love Evans, as much as I like Anderson, I did like Anderson, Dvorak, Armia, these guys are not going to be on the team. Neither is Savard, unfortunately, and neither is probably Barron and like I said, Struble, maybe Matheson. So all in all, what I'll have to say is the Montreal Canadiens are not disappointing me yet. It's 12 games in. What are they? They're 4-7-1, which is not great. They need to improve. They, fix what they're trying to do on defense. They need to make sure that Doc and Slafkovsky take it to the next level. That's important to me. Now, if they end up with 60 points or 70 points, I don't think it matters. Even if it's 80 points, it doesn't matter. So end of the day, the Montreal Canadiens are exactly where I thought they'd be. A little bit behind in terms of a couple of key players. I was hoping a Doc and a Slafkovsky would take a step. They haven't yet. But it's 12 games. I'm not off that bandwagon. I am off the bandwagon of the Montreal Canadiens making the playoffs. So that's it for next shift for me. The only thing I'll add is I watched Demidov today. He played quite a bit in the first period. The last couple of games, he hasn't been as dominant as the games before, and it showed in terms of the coaching did not want him to play in the third period. I think it was nothing to do with other than one play he made in his own end where he followed a guy behind the net and left his man open in front of the net. The puck got to that guy and the goalie had to make a big save, and he didn't see the ice after that. So, Kuznetsov was there too. Both guys got benched for a couple of shifts, and then when they got back on the ice, they didn't put Demidov on at all, and he didn't see the third period. Fortunately for the Canadiens and Demidov, his team lost in overtime to the last place team from Beijing. So maybe the coach may not do that again. I'm not too concerned about his development. Kid is great. I'm really looking forward to him next year. Was doing very well in the AHL. He could be a force in the future. And then you have the guys that we talked about, the 6 or 7 guys that need to take a step. All in all, we're right where I thought we'd be. Still a lot of games to go. Calgary on Tuesday. That should be a competitive game. That team has started off well, but has slowed down, and they're probably more in the realm of a Montreal Canadiens level in terms of rebuild and structure and stuff like that. So it should be a good test in terms to see how the team is responding to some of the system changes, some of the motivation from Marty. And I'm not on the Martin St. Louis, he needs help kind of bandwagon. Robida's in there. There's coaches in there that are helping him. At some point when the Canadiens need to win games and their 6 or 7 guys become 10 or 11 guys that are going to make it, that could be next year. Maybe at that point you bring in an experienced coach to assist on the defensive side or on the penalty on power play. I still want to see Hudson play on the first power play. But all in all, I'm happy with Gallagher, happy with Evans, happy with Josh Anderson considering where he was last year. He's not a great hockey player, but he's good at what he's doing right now. And Caulfield's putting the puck in the net, so let's keep that streak going, and Suzuki's getting points. So let's hope Slafkovsky and Doc pick it up, and Gooley's playing well, and Hudson plays well, and Matheson doesn't make 3 mistakes to give up 2 goals. All right. That's it for me. That's it for next shift. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night.